Greetings and thank you for joining us at FutureMoneyTrends.com. I love trying to get the best guests for our audience, and especially in a sector where I think you can make a lot of money. Not only because the great companies have been dragged down with a resource sector depression, but because there are some hidden gems out there with massive insider ownership, where they carry not only significant potential gains, but income down the road. And one of those companies I want to highlight to you today is iMinerals. The CEO is Thomas Conway. He is one of the few men who has had a very, very impressive and successful career in the mining industry, overseeing over 1,600 employees with Newmont. He was in charge of their most profitable mine. And now he is at the helm of iMinerals. He has some very strategic partners. They just received a price target, though the stock is only 25 cents Canadian. It was a dollar price target, and they had some big news out today. So I want to talk to Thomas about that today. Mr. Conway, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sir, I want to get right off the bat here with your company. I do want to talk about the resource sector in general for our audience, but you guys had some big news come out today. I think it's very significant milestone for any company that achieves this. If you could just let us know basically about the news today and what it means going forward.
Well, we've been working on this project for quite some time, and today we press released that we've got our feasibility study out on the Beauville-Kalan project, and it's actually coming in better than the pre-fees. It's coming in extremely robust, and that's, on a before-tax basis, you're going to get almost 32% IRR, and we're looking at about $385 million or so in NPV, and that's based on spending about $120 million life of mine. So you can see that there's almost 3 times as much value as what you're putting in capital, and that's quite different than what most mining projects you see. So we think we're quite excited by it. These are products that are used in everyday industry, and of course they're used for a lot of high tech. And so we think that once people really understand what this is, because these are all industrial minerals, they're not as well understood as the metals, and of course not as well followed. That when people really see this, I think they're going to be very pleased with the results and really pleased with the project.
Yeah, so take us through the timeline for an investor, somebody who buys shares today. What can they expect from the company about the timeline of actual? So now that this is behind you, and it's basically essentially proven that it's going to be a profitable venture. What are there any roadblocks in front of you as far as permits, or is this a matter of getting these projects into production?
Pretty much just to be getting this into production. I mean, today we put out the TEM, and you have 45 days then to file all the verbiage things on that. All the permits are ready to go. Part of the permitting process is all the various ancillary support documents in the 43-101. So those will all be filed with the state of Idaho quite soon. We're engaging a firm to help us with the financing, and there will be a press release on that shortly. And so really, we think we've got everything going, and we're going to know in the next few months then, just how acceptive is the market to the project, what shape the financing will take. We should have the permits and things pretty well at hand at that point. And so really, the project's ready to go. It's just a question now of getting the funding set up and then starting construction.
And this is iMinerals on the TSX Venture IMA, and on the OTC IMAHF.
That's correct.
And shares are about 16, 17 cents on the OTC and 25 cents on the TSX Venture. So how do you feel about the resource stock? First of all, I believe you didn't go to PDAC, but I'm sure you're very familiar with it, obviously, in the mining industry. What is the overall mood right now in the sector? I mean, you did work for Newmont, so you know a lot about the gold sector, and the gold sector seems to be leading us out. I was talking to Rick Rule about a month ago, and he had felt that if he was going to make a bet, that it would be gold that would lead the whole sector out. Do you feel that that's what's going on? Is there a mood change here?
There's a mood change amongst the people and stuff in the industry. I'm not sure that it translates to the broader markets and stuff. It's one of those things is that if you look at the last few days, you've seen quite a swing, in the value of some of the commodities. If you look from about last September to now, for like Glencore, I mean, their bonds have swung from, utter depression to utter jubilation and things. So I think, the market is really nervous and it's not really indicative of what the true underlying fundamentals are. Now, a lot of people, put a lot of money into expanding capacity, and there's probably too much capacity out there. I mean, some of the news out of China, isn't that good, but it depends on who you believe, from the Federal Reserve and from the financiers. Are we really still in a kind of a deflationary mode or an inflationary mode? And of course, everything I have to buy personally, everything keeps going up in price, so I think we've got some inflation there, which should be good for gold itself. But you listen to people talk about the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy is still growing. In fact, they upticked some of the GDP numbers here from last quarter. And of course, everything we produce, really goes into the broad economy. And so when you look at industrial minerals, and there's a very telling chart on our website, and that we show Emery's, who's a French company who sells industrial minerals, and you look over the last 5 or 10 years, their stock pretty much has been steadily going up, and then you kind of contrast it. We looked at Glencore and Anglo, and I think Newmont, other thing, their charts were going down. And so I think from a point of view of what we're going to produce, I think it's quite optimistic because people still want iPhones and, they want sinks and all these various things that our products are going into. And, certainly there's not going to be less of demand ultimately, for iron, copper, gold, things like this as the economies grow and develop. And so it's, you kind of go through those phases. But I think, there's good reason to, over the next 5 years to be quite optimistic on things.
Yeah, and what separates iMinerals? I mean, who is your end-use customer? And, is China a story that affects a company like iMinerals, or is China really not even on your radar?
China is really not on the radar. Pretty much everything we sell is sold domestically here in the United States. And then some of the products like the halloysite are going into Europe. And so we've had a press release out that they've chosen our halloysite for a diabetes application. There's testing ongoing on that, and we will be putting some additional press releases out over the next few months to let people know how that's going. And then our quartz goes into high value quartz type products for say television screens and iPhone screens and things of that nature, fiber optics, and of course those markets are still growing. And then our case bar is particularly coveted, is that the last major producer here shut down some time ago, and we make a very good grade material. And of course, that goes into the glazing and things on ceramics, and those markets are still growing. And then last but not least is metakaolin, which is a cement additive, which hardens up things like bridge decks and imparts chloride resistance and things. And so we've done a lot of testing. That's all under ASTM concrete type testing, and it's, we're in production today. We can sell all that stuff out instantly, because there's a lot of demand for obviously infrastructure improvements, and then housing is still booming, and so need the case bar for the glazes. And notwithstanding apples travails with the government, they're still second heck of a lot of iPhones and computers and iPads and things. And so quartz is still getting very high demand. So we're quite optimistic that the markets for these products are extremely good and growing.
Yeah, and you're in a very safe jurisdiction, obviously, Idaho. It doesn't get any more mining friendly than that. Like you've stated before in our last interview, this wasn't about federal permits, this was about state level permits, and the state's actually your partner on this deal, since they will also receive some of the revenues. Thomas Conway, if somebody would like to reach out to you directly or learn more about iMinerals, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, if you go onto our website, iMinerals, you can. There's a lot of information there. There's links to both CDAR and EDGAR, so people can look up all the various reports they have. Then it also has all the contact information for myself, or for our corporate headquarters, investor relations, and the marketing department. So if people are interested, they can contact any of us and get a heck of a lot more information off our website.
Thomas Conway of iMinerals. That's on the TSX Venture under IMA. You have a great day, sir. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.